Hey guys, STLYoungblood with you, and I want to talk about the Avenger, because today I decided to cross-chassis my Omega into a Gamma, and then spent the $5 to get the Avenger. Now, I haven't had a whole lot of luck getting into Battle Royale today, but I have been able to do a couple rounds of Vanduul Swarm with it so far. And I just kind of wanted to give some quick opinions, some feedback on it, and just talk about some things I've kind of noticed overall with the ship. Now, the first thing is that the speed is slower than expected. Now, granted, I knew going into it that it was capped at 220, but I was still hoping for better. For some reason, seeing the 220 was a little bit disappointing. That being said, being faster than Hornets is still really nice, and being able to catch up to Vanduul is pretty easy. You know, I said from the beginning that I thought that this was going to be really fast in a straight line, but not very agile. And I would say I was wrong, you know, at least with what we currently have. It's fairly quick. But it really does a great job of accelerating and making quick movements like rolling or pitching. Especially when you start doing both of them together, you get some pretty nice quick turns. Now, I feel like its maneuvering thrusters respond quickly, at least to the quote-unquote feel test. You know, they seem more powerful when using the strafe keys. Now, I will say that while I wish it was faster, it is fast enough to close on some targets pretty quickly. And if you're used to some of the slower ships, you got to kind of be aware that you can't just travel at full speed all the time. I almost rammed several Vanduuls in the process. Now, the main nose cannon does not disappoint, at least in damage. You know, I know there was a lot of concern about the size change. We were all hoping for that size 5. But all in all, the damn thing really eats the Vanduul alive. Now, it comes with a big downside of limitations on the amount of ammunition that you can carry, and it starts with 500. But it does carry a second box with another 500 that's going to kind of reload after a short period of time, about 5 seconds from the testing that I did. Now, that's not a big deal for those that die a lot, but if you're going to live a long time, or maybe you're doing Vanduul Swarm where you tend to survive longer, or, you know, you kind of need to conserve the ammunition a little bit more, because losing that gun makes finishing off targets really frustrating, regardless if you're using the stock Sucker Punch or using Bulldogs. And I'll admit it, I like to spam it, so I'm kind of adjusting to conserving that ammunition a little bit more, but it's kind of been tough for me so far. Now, I've seen plenty of people complain that it takes a long time for the cannon to spin up, and I don't know if it's just because I'm used to the Mantises or what, but honestly to me, I think it actually is pretty responsive, you know, for basically being a Gatling gun. I don't feel like there's a real big delay from pulling the trigger to bullets actually leaving the chamber. Now, the weapons are mounted on the lower half of the ship, so you're going to be a little bit limited in how high they're going to point, which, coming from using the ball turret on the Hornet, it takes a little bit of adjustment to really get comfortable with. Now, flying the Delta has sort of helped in preparation for that, and kind of makes it a little bit easier of a transition, but just know that you may not get that same flexibility that you're used to on different ships. Now, the Sucker Punches are hard to hit things with. We've seen that on the Cutlass as well, but they really do a good solid number on the shields when you actually end up landing the shots, and I think as soon as we get into the Persistent Universe and you're focusing on that bounty roll, being able to disable people really quickly is going to be a nice perk to those Sucker Punches. Now, you could also strap on and fly with the Bulldogs, and that's kind of a nice middle-of-the-road setup. Now, overall, I think the durability of the ship so far seems to be on par with what you would expect out of a cop car. You know, it can take a decent beating. Now, it's not going to be a Hornet, but it still takes a lot of damage and can keep going. You know, I hit an asteroid pretty hard and walked away from it. Though a couple of moments later, I ended up getting hit by a Vanduul in the front of my ship, and the cockpit was completely destroyed, and I died instantly. Now, it does come with a 4-part shield, meaning more customizations of shield configurations, and that's a nice perk. You know, the view overall, and this is something that I found kind of odd, was that it feels like you sit a little bit high up in the cockpit, almost like your character's got really good posture, is maybe just a little too tall for the ship. And if you're not using Track IR or using the mouse to kind of look down, some of those controls in the radar is going to be a little bit out of view, which isn't really a huge deal, but it does just seem a little bit off right now. All in all, though, I really like the ship so far, at least as a fighter, and I still think the Avenger is set up to be one of the most versatile combat-capable ships in the game, and is still one of my go-to recommendations for people looking for a good all-around ship, especially at those lower price tiers. Now, I'm going to do a follow-up after I get this into more games and multiplayer games. It'll probably be next week, but if you have questions or anything you want me to test, please just leave them in the comments, and I'll see about getting to them and getting to those and getting back to you. So otherwise, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful day, and take care.